Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true, you're a pal and a confidant. And if you threw a party and invited everyone that you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend. We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun and send us all off to war. We are the ones who grow up in violent homes. We are the ones who don't know what's right or wrong. I know. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. We are the ones who don't know why we're losing score. Give them a badge so they could send us to the morgue. Yeah, we are the ones who are scared to walk out the door. We are the ones who don't know what we're dying for. I know. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. Get off his fucking neck. That makes you know. He can't fucking breathe. That makes you know. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of I'm No Joe, your home for all things combat sports and the place where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. The views and opinions presented on the I'm No Joe channel belong solely to the person expressing it, no one else. If we say it, that means we meant it. That being said, this show does contain adult themes, adult content, and general shit that you shouldn't be letting your kids intake. Be advised, viewer discretion is recommended. Proceed at your own risk. You've been warned. If it's Thursday, you're tuned to the only podcast that identifies as a TV shoot. We, us pronouns. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I Am No Joe podcast, show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, I have got a glorious panel to get into the shit talking and shenanigans, the fight announcements, and the fuckery that has come down the MMA pipeline since we saw you folks last. I am your most based host. The meter does many things, but before we get into all the fun and fuckery, gentlemen, how the hell are you doing this evening?
We're here strongly against my will talking about a fucking, well, very lackluster card.
Jersey.
Look, yeah, it's it,
I like that. I'll do some fist pumping.
the I wish there was going to actually be some fist pumping this weekend because then it would be something to talk about. But I really don't think we're going to see all that.
I agree.
Yeah, there's a couple young kids I'm excited about. Aaron Blanchfield, that's about it. Fist pumping.
Yep.
We're in Jersey. Somebody's gonna get robbed, stabbed, and probably shot.
Right. Yeah, this is one of those hangover of a hangover weeks where the news is probably more exciting than the fight card, but we're still going to try and get into it and get you folks as excited about it as we can be once we get to the weekend. So, first and foremost, as we like to kick things off around here, a little bit of news and recent events, fight confirmations, fight cancellations, rumors that have been confirmed or denied officially since we saw you wonderful folks last. This week, as like most weeks, unfortunately, the opening bit of news we have actually ties us back to last weekend, where history was made on the UFC card, but not necessarily for the best of reasons. We had a genuine bona fide first in the UFC, and I believe in all of organized mixed martial arts as a whole, at least for the major organizations. For the first time ever, we had a fight ending disqualification by way of biting. Yes, you heard that correctly. Igor Severino in his match with Andre Lima. At one point, Lima had him to the side in kind of a side headlock, but not quite. He was up against the fence trying to turn away and kind of break loose and make his turn back. And Igor, at one point, leaned over, and you see him lean his head back and then lean in. And Andre goes like this and looks at the referee. The referee kind of leans in for a closer look, and then you see him do it again. The referee jumps in and breaks it off and goes, what, Igor is playing it off. What the hell? What's going on? Andre holds up his arm on the middle of his bicep, the size of a fucking $50, clear as black print on white paper. You see a perfect set of upper and lower teeth prints so deep that it broke skin, and one of the little marks was bleeding down the edge. Referee was there and saw it, brings the translator in, tells Igor, this is a disqualification. You bit him. Igor says, no, you didn't. The referee immediately says, I saw you. You bit him. And we have it on the replay, at which point they were actually showing it on the screens in the Apex. So you could see clear as day. He absolutely did bite him. And then when the fight was actually announced and they raised Andre Lima's arm, and you could see clear as day, he had a giant fucking bite mark on his arm. It was absolutely fucking ridiculous. But I will say, to the credit of Dana White in the UFC, they tried to turn around and downplay it and spin it as best as they could. Dana White went in the back and told Andre Lima, you are officially going to get yourself $25,000 for the first ever UFC I got fucking bit bonus. So what does he do without missing a beat? Andre Lima runs out of the Apex, runs down the strip in Las Vegas, goes right to a fucking parlor and gets the bite mark tattooed on his arm where it was with the words around it, I got fucking bit bonus. Posted on Instagram. Dana sees it while the event is going live and says, you know what? I was going to give him 25, but now I'm going to give him 50 grand because that's fucking awesome. Not 5 minutes later, we find out not only is Andre Lima getting a $50,000 I got fucking bit bonus from the UFC, but Igor Severino is officially cut from the UFC and his purse has officially been held by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, all before the end of the programming Saturday evening. That's how quick that ball got rolling and fucking things happened.
Best possible fucking outcome out of that situation, like all the way around.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And good for him getting $50,000. And the I got fucking bit written around the teeth mark. Chef's kiss, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fucking brilliant. What a way to remember that I made $50,000. Watched a guy get cut all because he couldn't take his ass whipping like a man.
Yep. Yeah, because he absolutely was. Andre Lima was handily winning that fight. You could tell Igor Severino was way out of his fucking element. And granted, I understand that when you're out of your element and the big lights are on you, that sometimes you make stupid decisions. But this might have been the all-time bonehead decision to make in the UFC, and it ended his tenure in less than 10 minutes of octagon time. So good luck, Severino, because I don't see any major organization ever wanting to touch that motherfucker with a 10-foot pole now. That being said, that'll bring us into some news that'll bring us into this weekend's upcoming fight. This weekend is the long and much anticipated return of one of the UFC's biggest stars, Chris Weidman. The All-American makes his return this weekend against Bruno Silva and has said in no uncertain terms that this fight single-handedly will determine his future. He's already had a rough time going through camp because he had 4 fucking major surgeries since we saw him last, with recovery in between every one of them, on top of a whole laundry list of other things that he has had to deal with in his personal life, just trying to get back to the octagon to be the professional that he is. But he's back, he's here, he says he's feeling good, he's ready for this fight, and depending on how this fight goes, will determine if we see Chris Weidman in the octagon again. He said, if I get in there and I get worked, or I just don't feel like I have it anymore, then at the end of Saturday night, I'm hanging the gloves up. But if I get in there and I feel like I can still do it and I still get a good result, the train rolls on. But the fight will determine everything. He says, I feel like I've prepared as best as I can for it. I'm coming in the best Chris Weidman I've been in a long time. And if that's not good enough, then that's all we're going to get. So fingers crossed, we at least see a good performance, whether he stays or goes. I don't honestly care 2 shits either direction. I'm more concerned about this man and all the shit that he has been through and what happens after Saturday night. I just want to see him put up a good performance and then be able to move forward Sunday morning, confident that he made the right decision, whichever way it goes. So that's all I'm hoping for as far as this goes on Weidman. But there is a lot riding on his fight Saturday night, to say the very least. That being said, we have got a small avalanche of fight announcements / cancellations / rebookings that fell through the pipe since we saw you folks last. So I'm going to try and chop through these fairly quickly here. The first one we've got starting in next week, April 4th, in the San Antonio kickoff of the PFL's regular season. We have already got a fight rearrangement. Denise Kielholtz, who's originally scheduled to welcome Tyla Santos for her debut over in the PFL, has officially been pulled, but Tyla's staying on the card, and instead they are giving her ex-Bellator fighter, Ilara Joanna. It was going to be a bit of a cakewalk, in my opinion, to see Santos go against Kielholtz, because Kielholtz isn't the greatest. She's a former kickboxing star, but hasn't really done too terribly much since she transitioned to MMA. Santos was pretty much going to be able to have her way with her. Ilara Joanna is a fun fighter. She's a great person, but she's just not top talent. Point blank, period, end of sentence. Tyla Santos is going to steamroll that fucking girl and charge her way into that PFL season. So good for Tyla, sucks for Joanna and Kielholtz apparently, but we'll see how that season plays out as San Antonio gets closer next week. We got a pair of announcements this week. It's rare that we get one, but we got a pair of announcements this week from ex-UFC fighter Luke Rockhold. He is back into the mix in multiple ways here. We found out first and foremost that starting in a couple weeks, he will be flying over to the Middle East, to Riyadh, as he and Tyron Woodley will be coaches in an Ultimate Fighter style reality show for a new MMA organization over there called Hardcore FC. They will be respective coaches for opposite teams, but unlike Ultimate Fighter, these two will not fight at the end of the show. They are strictly there just as coaches from their years of professional experience, which to their credit, they both genuinely do have. So in that situation, I do kind of understand it. And I don't know that anybody would really want to see those two fight at this point anyway. So props for using name value and not subjecting yourself to the shit that could be the slap fight those two would put on afterwards. Good job on them for Hardcore FC. But I think the best part, at least for Luke, in finding out that he was going to be coaching that show for Hardcore FC, but not having to fight Woodley, was extra good for him because he found out that on April 20th, while still over in Saudi Arabia, he's going to be stepping into the pit for Karate Combat number 45 and taking on none other than Smokin' Joe Schilling. Not the fight I would ever have advised Luke Rockhold to take under any circumstances, but here we are. He is, to his credit, getting his name all over the place back into the combat sports world, but I have a very strong feeling that when we get around to closer to May, it might not be as good of a name once these two things end up playing out, because, oof, I don't know how he's going to look good on camera with that much time in an Ultimate Fighter type setting, and I don't see a world where he can get past Joe Schilling in a fucking karate fight, for fuck's sake. Even at their age and in their shape, I still think Joe Schilling's gonna fucking walk the floor with old Luke. But we will see as we get a little closer to 420 and see Rockhold get smoked. That being said, the following week back into Vegas for another UFC Apex card. We have a very interesting fight added to what is prospectively going to be UFC Vegas, I believe 90 or 91 maybe. Euros Medic stepping back into the cage after a long time off, taking on none other than the Dirty Bird himself, Tim fucking Means. That is a great fucking fight in my opinion. Euros has kind of been on the downslide. Dirty Bird is a steady gatekeeper for the top 15 in my opinion, so this will really tell us where Medic's future actually lies within the UFC, because we've already seen time and time again, it don't really matter what the Dirty Bird does. They can get rid of that motherfucker anytime soon because he is always worth the price of admission. So definitely an interesting matchup in my opinion here. I'm fucking here for it. And with all of the good fights essentially booked for the next couple months, this is the point where they're going to have to start genuinely scrambling to pick gems like this out of the crap pile that is left of UFC to be match made for these upcoming cards around the pay-per-views. Speaking of interesting fights added to pay-per-views, though, we got an interesting one just this afternoon. UFC 301 going down in Rio de Janeiro, May 4th, has an interesting rebooking added to it here. Originally scheduled last November down in Brazil, we are going back this time with May's intentions, rebooking once again Vince from Hell Pichel and Ishmael Bonfim. They booked this once. They went down to Brazil last time, but Bonfim couldn't get past the fucking scale. And Pichel, to his credit, said, no, I'm not going to take that fucking fight. The opponent clearly didn't even try to make weight, so I'm not going to give him a chance to make money off of blowing the scale. So they're going to try it again. Apparently the fight was that interesting to UFC matchmakers. They're going to do it again. And Vince Pichel has already said, Bonfim better get his fucking diet right, because if he misses the scale again, he's losing the fight again. And tip of the fucking cap to Vince Pichel, that's the way you've got to fucking do it. When you've got guys trying to play the system like this, you have to hit them where it hurts the most, and that's their fucking wallet. So absolutely 100% in Vince Pichel's corner on here. Glad to hear that they gave him a chance to run that fight back, and they're going to let him stand on the high ground again here. So if we actually get to this fight, it could be very interesting. But as of right now, my flag is waving for Vince Pichel in the scale. We got a couple of announcements. I will say, first and foremost, it was a little frustrating for the UFC to set up the UFC St. Louis card for May 11th in such a short and obviously fucking haphazard fashion. We've literally got like 7 weeks before the card is done. Tickets were supposed to go on sale a week ago, and now they don't even go on sale until the end of next week. We still only know just a couple of fights that are even going to be on that card, and those have all been announced since after the card was confirmed to be in St. Louis. So we got a couple of them announced this week here. Not the greatest, but I'm hoping that they're still holding out the goodness for us to drop on us. We did get some interesting ones though. Bruce Leroy will be in St. Louis. Alex Caceres taking on Sean Woodson, who is a St. Louis boy himself. Fight makes sense. Location makes sense. Waldo Costa Cortez taking on Robelis de Spagna. Very, very potential interesting fight there amongst the big boys. I'm not sure if it's going to be worth the price of admission just yet, but they're starting to stack it here. The other two that we got, Vinicius Salvador, upcoming prospect, taking on Adrian Yanez. That's a pretty decent fucking fight. And then the main event for St. Louis, or excuse me, not for St. Louis, I apologize. Salvador versus Yanez, and Edson Barbosa versus Lerone Murphy will be main eventing, I apologize, not St. Louis, the following week back in the Apex, May 18th. Edson Barbosa versus Lerone Murphy as main event. Vinicius Salvador versus Adrian Yanez. The other fights we announced last week, I believe, for St. Louis. But as of right now, I think we have 5 fights, and none of them are blowing their socks off here. It's fucking 4-hour drive one way to get there, and fucking all the money it's going to cost to see. They better stack some shit on this. UFC Kansas City was pretty fucking decent. St. Louis ain't holding a candle just yet.
That's the thing that's pissing me off the most right now is that this week they announced a main event for the week after. Right. Barbosa versus Lerone Murphy. Would have been, I wouldn't say I'd be fine with that as a main event, but that I like Barbosa, right? We got to see him in Kansas City.
We saw him.
We know he's probably going to win that fight. Yeah, I like Lerone Murphy too. So, but
right.
As a main event, it's still questionable. But you've given May 18th in the Apex main event, but a fucking fight that you're supposed to be putting on in an arena in St. Louis, selling tickets for here in a week, still doesn't have a main event. What the fuck's going on here?
Yeah, trying to sell out the Enterprise Center in fucking St. Louis with no main event and less than half the card announced when you're literally only giving 4 weeks from the time the tickets go on sale until the fucking event happens. I don't remember the last time USC has dropped the ball this fucking hard on any card. And this, ironically enough, is another one that I potentially could go to, as well as Christian here. This is in Missouri. This is within driving distance for both of us here. You got to give us a fucking reason to go, though.
There's no reason to go to that card right now at all. For what the price of admission is going to be and what the card is stacking up to be, they should be giving those tickets away for free.
Right? No, at this rate, I'm going to end up staying here and going to fucking Synergy FC and talking to fucking Zach Cummings instead of driving to St. Louis and watching fucking UFC fights. Dirty cocksuckers. Anyways, that being said, couple weeks after that, UFC 302 has officially been confirmed for Newark, New Jersey, and we got a pair of interesting announcements for Newark here. The first one that we got, very interesting fight for me. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez versus Roman Mr. Steal Your Girl Dolidze himself, getting back into the cage. That's got fun fight written all fucking over it here. But then we got an announcement that wasn't really an announcement because it got rolled back shortly after it got announced. What they originally told us was that it was going to be Jailton Almeida versus Alexander Volkov as the main event for New Jersey. Literally less than 24 hours later, we got the announcement that, nope, sorry, our bad, we fucked up. Jailton Almeida is still going to be on 302 in New Jersey, but we are stealing Alexander Volkov from that card in New Jersey, and we are moving him back a couple weeks to UFC Saudi Arabia, June 22nd, officially now confirmed, where we will get Kelvin Gastelum versus Daniel Rodriguez. Very fucking stoked for that fight. Johnny Walker versus Volkan Ozdemir. Very interested in that fight as well. Sergey Pavlovich stepping back in against Alexander Volkov now in the co-main event, which, not gonna lie, kind of more interested in that one. Underneath the now confirmed main event for UFC Saudi Arabia, Robert Whitaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. Not mad at that fucking Saudi Arabia card lineup, but interesting that they're going to literally rob from Peter to pay Paul. They're stealing a main event, half of the main event from the pay-per-view to send it to the Saudi Arabia card that will be on ABC as a fight night a couple of weeks later. A little weird how they're doing that, but we'll see how that works out if they can find somebody last minute to step in and save the main event for 302 in New Jersey. That same week, same day as UFC Saudi Arabia, Bellator Dublin, June 22nd, is already in trouble. We have got Jason the ass-kicking machine Jackson taking on Ramazan Kuramagomedov for the welterweight Bellator championship, headlining that Bellator Dublin card. Hopefully they promote that better than PFL Belfast just did, because half of that promotion was just in Ireland, and people in Ireland didn't know that fucking card was happening until the day it fucking happened. So hopefully Bellator still has their shit together. That will be streamed on Max, not ESPN Plus like the PFL cards. So they will have their own separate distribution rights for these cards as well. Still, we'll see how their promotions go as far as actual marketing when that gets a little closer. Kind of an interesting one here. We got the confirmation after we found out that Robert Whitaker will be headlining UFC Saudi Arabia against Khamzat Chimaev June 22nd, that just 3.5 weeks later, August 17th, UFC 305 will officially be held in Perth, Australia. They cannot stop tripping over their feet this year. They stole the main event from UFC 301 to slap onto UFC 300 because that card fell apart. They stole the headline from UFC 302 to move it to the co-main event for Saudi Arabia on a fight night because that's all fucking crazy. Now we find out that the month after Saudi Arabia, the next big card, the following fucking pay-per-view, they're going to Australia, but they're going to have the Australian fucking big name fighter fight in Saudi Arabia instead. I'm sure they will deny it vehemently when asked, but it seems pretty fucking apparent to me that the quote unquote big plans for 2024 that Dana White and the UFC had are shitting all over themselves right now. That being said, late in the fall, September 6th, the United States return, of One Fighting Championship officially has the main event for its return to Denver. Stamp Fairtex, the undisputed atomweight champion, is officially moving up to 115 to go for champ status, taking on the strawweight champion Zhang Jingnan. That is going to be a spectacular fight because Nan has 2 losses on her professional record, both to Angela Lee in her own attempts to become champ at atomweight and strawweight. So this is essentially Stamp Fairtex trying to recreate what Nan did, but actually pull it off and hold both belts. And if you've never seen Stamp Fairtex or Zhang Jingnan fight, Jesus fucking Christ, take your ass over to the other side of YouTube when this show is done and enjoy your motherfucking self. Because if you have never seen those highlight reels, you are in for a fucking treat. Those ladies are badasses. And the card is going to be opened, or not opened, but main evented rather. This will be the co-main event. I'm sorry. The card is going to be main evented by Jonathan Haggerty getting back into there, taking on the 145-pound kickboxing belt on that ONE FC card as well. So they are stacking up the belts. They are stacking up awesome fights for that September 6th card when they come back to Denver. And I am fucking here for it. If ONE FC is really bleeding money as bad as the rumors are, and they really might not see the end of the year, this card could be one to help turn that fortune around if it follows through the way they are building it as of right now. Couple of other interesting announcements to round out the news here. The first one, we got kind of a strange announcement yesterday that despite being on a 4-fight win streak, Felipe Lenz has officially been released from the UFC. I say released, but I mean it in the conjunctive sense, in that his contract was done after his 4th fight, and the UFC has opted not to give him a contract re-signing option. They have delivered him into free agency on a 4-fight win streak. Not necessarily the tune the UFC always plays, but it is a little odd considering that he might not have went for the belt, but he definitely had some interesting prospective fights still lined up ahead of him in the heavyweight division or light heavyweight division of the UFC. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one shakes loose, considering they brought him in to be the big prospect. He went on a 4-fight run and then they let him go. A little odd. Speaking of a little odd, though, it's nice to see, I guess nice would be a relative term from a fan standpoint. It's not only the UFC that has been pulling some shady bullshit lately. We talked about it here on the show just a couple of weeks ago. Well, it turns out now PFL might be pulling a Dana White here. The fight announced for Alexander Shabli versus Usman Nurmagomedov for the 155-pound belt, with the PFL organization overseeing the Bellator side of things, has apparently not actually been made. Alexander Shabli went and did an interview this week and said not only has he not been offered a contract for that title fight against Nurmagomedov, they've not even begun negotiations. They haven't even been to beginning of talks about this title fight. He's not sure how, why, or where they get off making the fight announcement, but this seems to be Don Davis and the PFL taking a direct page from that Dana White UFC playbook in announcing potential big fights, I say with air quotes, that aren't even booked and have no contract negotiations even been started. That's not a good look. And this, in my opinion, is a direct reflection of the UFC antitrust lawsuits being settled out of court for fucking cash. Because this is one of those things that potentially could have been changed if that lawsuit, or either of those lawsuits, I should say, would have gone to fruition and the UFC would have lost. With that settlement now, that's essentially out of the picture, and now they can feel free, as well as other organizations like the PFL, to go about as shady business as they want, because they now have taken away all ground the fighters have to stand on. Fuck. That being said, last one I've got here this week is a bit of a cryptic one here, not on my part, but just in the way that it was released. We got an announcement yesterday that Brandon Moreno has, and I quote, reached his limit in his mind and will be effectively stepping away from the UFC and MMA as a whole for the foreseeable future. He says this is not retirement. He doesn't plan to quit, but his body and his mind have been through so much in the last few years that he just absolutely has to take a complete step away and remove himself from it to try to reset and get back to himself. I completely understand, but at the same time, I don't know that we have seen anyone pull this maneuver off and successfully come back, no matter how much passion or heart they have. When you get to this breaking point, it is almost always inevitably the end whether it's walking away and not coming back, or coming back and not being who you were and not being able to stay back. This move is generally the indicator of the end of a professional fighter's career. And it's sad to see that Moreno is going this way, but it is also understandable when you have watched what he himself has gone through in just the last 4 or 5 years alone, outside the rest of his storied career. Just the last few years alone, that man has men through the meat grinder over and over. So it's not the way that you want to see it done, but at the same time, it's also an understandable thing to do. So I will absolutely tip my cap to Brandon Moreno. Hope that he gets everything straightened out, everything worked out, and is able to come back successfully and be who he was. But I'm skeptical that that's how it's going to play out. Hopefully it does, but that's a tall ask. That being said, that is what I have got for news this week. You gentlemen have anything that I might have missed this week?
No, you covered all the big ones. Then there's really nothing else out there that's worth talking about at this point, other than hearsay, and we don't cover hearsay.
Excuse me. Well, in that case, that'll bring us to this week's combat sports fight menu for the weekend. See, I'm remembering to do it early in the show, folks. You can quit yelling at me now. There are not a lot of great fights this weekend, but there are a lot of fights this weekend. So we'll run down the combat sports menu for you real quick, give you an idea of what you've got to look forward to if you need a little punchy kicky in your life going forward in this weekend here. Tomorrow evening, Friday, kicking off at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Standard. We have a pair of cards, both kicking off at the same time. The first one, LFA 180 Lawrence versus Ward. This is another one of those feeder organizations that send fighters back and forth to the UFC. Casuals are going to know about half this card. Hardcores are probably going to know almost everybody on this card, with the exception of the couple gentlemen and ladies making their debut. Interesting fights lined up on that one, in my opinion, as well. The other one kicking off tomorrow night at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, BKFC 59, Dodson versus Aguero, live from Albuquerque. And if you saw the weigh-ins this afternoon, John Dodson is officially turtle enough for the Turtle Club. That's all I'm going to say about that. Look it up when the show's over if you don't know. Just chef's kiss, John Dodson. That being said, though, there are some other interesting fights on that card as well. The average casual is going to know about half that roster. Hardcores are going to know pretty much everybody on there, except for the folks making their debut again. That will bring us around to Saturday, kicking off a little earlier in the afternoon, 1:45 Eastern, noon 45 Central Standard Time. Cage Warriors 169 from over at the O2 in London. This is another one of those organizations that feeds directly back and forth with the UFC. Excuse me. Casual is going to know a little less than half on the card here, unless you're from England or the UK, and then you'll know most of these folks. Hardcores are going to know about 2/3 of this lineup as well. But early afternoon, Saturday, punchy kicky if you need something to hold you over. And that brings us to the marquee reason for the season, the name atop the show itself, UFC Atlantic City, kicking off 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from the Boardwalk, Atlantic City, New Jersey. So, that being said, plenty of punchy kicky in store for you this weekend. We will get more into that in just a little bit. But that being said, that will bring us to the point in the show where if you are a hardcore head and you've been watching combat sports for a while, like some of us are and have been, you inadvertently start to learn what you like to watch, when it comes on, where you go to watch it, and you develop this set of metaphorical blinders, as it were. You start to lose the forest for the trees. Luckily for us old fucks, we have ourselves a bona fide young person here on the show that's able to ever so delicately get out there and just finger the pulse of the MMA world to help keep us abreast of all the names that are going to be names before they actually are names, in a little segment that we like to call Slows, Cans, and Contenders.
Appreciate you, brother. So, like I always like to do, I'm going to start with the trash. You got to take that shit out and get your chores out of the way, you know? It's quite a bit of it, in my opinion. Throw a lot of singular names in here this week and a few fights in general. So I got that clusterfuck of featherweight fights. There's just a lot of trash, before we get to a decent one. Dennis Bazooka. Throw this guy in the can. He's still young, but he's lost his first couple fights in the UFC, and I really like Connor Matthews. I think that kid's got some potential, and he's going to look good in his debut. If I'm right about that, Bazooka 0-3, the UFC, just get the fuck out of there. Then you got the two featherweight fights after that. Julio Arce versus Herbert Burns. Just throw that fight in the motherfucking can. Herbert Burns is the shit brother of the Burns family. We all know there's one good brother, there's one bad brother when you get a fucking brother duo in MMA. Herbert Burns tore up his fucking knee almost 2 years ago after getting his ass beat, in all honesty, and then retires. And then, for whatever reason, comes back. He's 36 years old. Julio Arce has always been back and forth, and 34. This is just not an interesting fight. And then you get another one right after that. Two dudes in their 30s as well that are both middle of the pack, always been back and forth, and just not fun or interesting. Bill Algeo and Kyle Nelson. It's just two fucking fights back to back that I feel like you could just say, fuck off, get out of here, and you just, go do some other shit, take a smoke break, and do whatever you got to do in the middle of the fights. You got Bruno Silva, throwing him in the fucking can. Dude's got some knockout power, but he's honestly the reason, I feel like Chris Weidman's finally going to get a bounce back win. Because Bruno Silva just does not have any real fighting talent, even if the dude has a little power in his hands. Cedricus Dumas, obvious trash this weekend because the dude's just a walking piece of shit. He got arrested just a couple months ago for beating his woman again. Can't fucking do anything but wish this guy to get laid the fuck out. In all honesty, Ruslan Rozabayev, the guy he's fighting, knocked out Bruno Ferreira in his debut. I don't want to see him knock out Dumas. I want to see him make it slow and painful. Take this guy for 3 rounds, give him those elbows, cut this motherfucker up, make this guy fucking suffer. Give him the jailhouse treatment, for fuck's sake. It's legal. You're getting locked up in a cage with the dude, you know what kind of guy he is, you fucking make that motherfucker pay. You don't knock that kind of guy out. But Dumas, obviously, trash can. He doesn't have a lot of fucking talent as a fighter at this point. Seeing him a few times in the UFC, and he's an absolute piece of shit as a human being. I also got a fight, fucking Reese McKee versus Chidi Njokuani. Throw that fight in the trash as a whole. Chidi made fucking 30s. Always been back and forth. Reese McKee, even if the dude's finished every fight he's ever won, he's 0-3 in the UFC. Just not interested in that one whatsoever. And you could also throw fucking Anton Turkalj in there, another dude, 0-3 since he's been in the UFC. Probably going to get knocked the fuck out by. I've been having fun with Vincent joking around, calling him the Turkish Delight or the Turkish fucking Lion. He reminds me of Narnia, right? The dude's name is Ebo Aslan, the first fucking dude from Turkey to get into the UFC. Guy's pretty fucking young, 27 years old, 12 fucking finishes. He's one of my contenders this week. So Turkish fucking Delight, Turkish Lion, man, fucking the lion from Narnia's name was Aslan. His fucking last name is Aslan. It's just cool, right? It works out. But, yeah. You throw Buckley in the can. It's a lot of fucking cans. Meter stepped away for a minute, but you got to always give him the credit. I got a Schrodinger's can tender this week again. Not every week do I have one, but this week I've got one myself. I just got to be honest with it. Nate the Train, love him to death. He's fan favorite. No, all of us love him on the podcast. But he's been back and forth throughout his career, tough as fucking nails. After losing to Danny Ige in his last fight, he's just kind of on the fence, right? You got to see where the future lies here. He was supposed to be fucking fighting Pat Sabatini. Sabatini had to pull out of the fight. Now you're getting Jamal Emmers. dude that's at least a little bit of a veteran in the UFC. It's going to be a fun fight. They're both going to throw down. Fucking Nate goes out there, gets himself another really good win, fucking puts on a show. He's got the crowd behind him. Going to put him right back into fucking contention to throw him back into the rankings. So that's where he's on the fence, right? Because you lose to Jamal Emmers when you were supposed to fight Pat Sabatini, that hurts. So we know Nate's going to fucking go out. He's going to throw it down. If Emmers wins, he's going to have to do some serious motherfucking work. He ain't putting him fucking down. Fully guarantee all that. He's going to put on a show no matter what, but if he fucking loses or the judges fuck him, losing to Jamal Emmers, that's a rough. Even if Jamal's not a horrible fighter, he's just that middle of the pack guy. So I got Nate Schrodinger's contender this week, even though I think he's going to fucking flip on the good side and work his way back into contendership. The rest of my contenders, I talked about them. Turkish Delight, Turkish fucking Lion, Ebo Aslan, man, fucking 12 finishes of his 12 wins, all of them by fucking knockout. This kid's fucking exciting. You need some excitement. Some young fucking dudes that are knocking people out in the light heavyweight and heavyweight divisions in the UFC at this point. I look forward to this fucking kid. They're throwing him an easy one. Like I said, cans. Turkal's 0-3 in the UFC. Just has not looked good at all. I got a lady, Victoria Dudakova, 25-year-old, undefeated, fucking got some knockout power herself, fighting Melissa Gatto, another young chick. She's been a little back and forth in the UFC, so Dudakova goes out there and gets that one. It looks pretty good. Just keep an eye out for her. We got Nurlston Ruzabayev. We talked about him knocking the fuck out of Cedricus Dumas. This dude is only 30 years old, has fought 43 times professionally, has 31 fucking finishes, and has 33 wins. Pretty impressive. Most of them submissions, but he's got some fucking striking ability. I hope he beats the living shit out of Dumas. And he knocked out Bruno Ferreira in the first round in his debut. So definitely keeping an eye out for him. No, you guys don't like him. I don't like him particularly. Petrosky, though, he has a chance to bounce back a little bit. He really lost a lot losing to Pereira, but he fucking won his first 5 fights in the UFC, so maybe the dude can bounce back. The UFC likes him is the biggest thing. So I feel like they're trying to push him back in the first place and giving him Malkoon. Give him a fucking easy one. Try to help the motherfucker bounce back after getting smoked by Pereira. But I think we know what he's worth, in all honesty. I don't think the dude's really worth a top 15 fighter, but they're going to keep trying to work him towards that. Lupi Gudinas, another lady I'm looking forward to. She goes out there and beats Verna Jandaroba this weekend. That's probably throwing her up in title contention in the strawweight division. She's always been fun to watch. I don't think she's going to win the title, but she's definitely going to put herself into contention. You got Luque. Dude could be a Hall of Famer. This is his 21st fight in the UFC. He was supposed to fucking fight Sean Brady, but that never actually happened. The UFC likes to announce shit a little early. Buckley, I feel like this is just an easy win for him. And then he'll fucking get somebody in the top 10 and allow himself to work his way back up. And the obvious fight of the night, fucking Blanchfield versus Fiorot. Both ladies fucking 6-0 in the UFC so far. Both of them have fought quite a few talented ladies and just run through them. I feel like Blanchfield is the obvious contender. I feel like she's going to run through Fiorot too. She could fucking beat everybody in the bantamweight division and the flyweight division, in my opinion. Shit, if she could fucking cut down 10 pounds, she'd probably rule the strawweight division. I feel like she's the best prospect in the ladies' fucking side of MMA. There's not a lot of ladies that I feel like she's going to beat her. She's only 24 years old. She's only going to keep getting better. Love to hear what you guys got. Who's your contenders and cans this weekend? A lot of cans.
First and foremost, I want to thank you, Christian, for proving once again why I stopped watching all of the bullshit. So I would get crazy ideas in my head, like Drosky fucking deserves to be here. Instead, you say stuff like that, and I realize I'm really glad I don't watch it because I don't think he fucking does. So as a whole, that fight can go fuck itself. The first fight of the night can go fuck itself. Victoria Dudakova and Losagato can go fuck itself. Don't get me wrong. Victoria looked like she had something going on. The first fight, she came in and knocked the bitch out in 30 seconds. Second fight looked like shit. Barely got through it. I don't care if there's a guy from Turkey on here or not. Even if he is Aslan, whether he wants to be a lion or not, he can go right back into the goddamn wardrobe and close the door behind him and never come back. Fuck ecology. Don't care. Look, this card is a fucking hole. It's fucking trash. There is only a handful of fighters slash two fights I really even care to watch on. Well, I'll say three fights that I care to watch. I do care to watch Jandiroba and Godinez because that actually has a lot of implications for the strawweight division. And both of them have been fairly exciting for women fighters. And I say fairly exciting very loosely. As in, Godinez always shows up. She's turned into the yes man, yes woman of the fucking UFC, where she'll pretty much fucking come in at any time and fight people, which is great for her. She's making fucking money. Good on her. She beats Jandiroba. Yeah, maybe she'll get a top 5 opponent, but we're never going to see her win a title. I don't think we're ever going to see her get a title shot, to be honest. And I don't think fucking Jandiroba is going to get it because I think that ship has sailed for her, unfortunately. So does it have implications there? Yes, but is it really worth it? No. Do I want to say I'm going to be surprised if that one's fucking worthwhile or not? Who knows? That fight as a whole is a contender fight. We don't know. Then, of course, everybody wants to watch Nate the Train. Nate the Train's always fun to watch. That's all there is to it. Jamal Emmers is going to come out, try to put on a show, and, that is what it is. Sheen Jaquani, Reese McKee, go fuck itself. Fuck Bill Algeo, fuck Kyle Nelson, fuck the both of them. I'm not even going to talk about the next one because he now falls into the same division of wife beaters as everyone else. So his name doesn't deserve to get mentioned. He's just Voldemort number fucking 2. To go, actually, no, let me rephrase that. Voldemort number 3. Actually, no, let me rephrase that again. Number 4, because you have Dana White included in that motherfucker. Then, also, Chris Weidman, yes, I'm excited to see that fight, but not because of the fight itself. The fight itself, I give two shits about. I just honestly want to see how Chris Weidman is at doing, and I don't mean in the fighting sense, but how he is health wise. And you're going to be able to tell a lot just from watching the fight. Look, that dude has been through fucking hell and back. He's obviously going to be a Hall of Famer. He beat Anderson Silva. He beat Anderson Silva again with a leg break, which eventually turned into him having his leg broken. Because, that just seems to be the strain of fucking crazy events that a lot of fucking title holders go through. Weird that happened to Conor McGregor, too. Huh. Something about the leg breaks and holding titles. Seems like it's one of those things you really don't want to fucking have. And to be honest, the next fight on the card, the co-main event, I don't give two flying fucks about. I don't like Vicente Luque. I've never liked Vicente Luque. Joaquin Buckley, he's got a couple cool highlights. Other than that, not really that great of a fighter. The main event is the only thing worth watching on this entire fucking card in its entirety. Namely because both of these women have ran through every person that has been put in front of them. Neither one of them have lost in the UFC. To be honest, I don't know who's going to win this fight. I think Blanchfield did jump Fiorot, but Fiorot had a better shot at getting a title shot first, in my opinion. But Aaron's come on strong as of late, so if this is not the next in line for the title, the UFC is done fucked up. Because to be honest, these are the only two girls that are in the flyweight division right now that can say they deserve a title shot. Even if this fight didn't happen, both of them deserve a title shot at this point. This is just the fucking icing on the cake of who actually gets that shot. And I mean, they had to make it because, well, 300's coming up and that title is on the line. So here we fucking go. We're gonna know who they're fighting after 300, and it's either gonna be Blanchfield and Jonah or fucking, I don't know. It's gonna be a fun fucking toss up. That's all there is to it. But this fight is actually exciting. There could be some fireworks. In fact, I'll go as far enough to say is I think this very well could be not only the main event but fight of the night. Also, fuck the rest of the card.
Well, I don't see it quite that bad. It's definitely far from good, but there are some interesting pickings to be had here.
Come on now. That's like walking into a bar at fucking 10 o'clock. She's a 2 at 10, but of course a 10 at 2. You're trying to look at this like it's a 10 at 2. No, we're not staying up that late to watch this fight, nor am I going to be that goddamn drunk to be watching these fights.
See, this is where I wish you would have been here last week so you could have at least agreed with me on the Talbot and Seaman fight, because that would have been fun shit.
See, here's where you boys forget. An old man named Ben Kenobi taught us a long time ago that anything can be true from a certain point of view. No, there is some potential on this card, but there is also some diapers long past needing to be changed. First and foremost, Andre Petrowski and Jacob Malkoun can both go fuck themselves promptly and preeminently before anything else gets said. Ultimate Fighter punching bag, Robert Whittaker's punching bag, fuck them both. It's just card filler space at this fucking point. Neither one of them deserve to be here, let alone be on a card that we have to watch. That being said, I agree 100%. Arce versus Burns is another one. It doesn't make any fucking sense. We already know Burns is not the brother with the talent. He's already retired once for good fucking reason. Should have stayed retired. Arce just cannot keep his shit together. If you gave him duct tape and some Flex Seal, just let them both fucking go at this point. I'm done with both of those motherfuckers. I will say I have a little bit of a Schrodinger's contender this week here because I, unlike some folks, always have faith in Nate Landwehr. So I'm not putting that stamp on him. What I will say, though, is someone who has proven to be a contender in Lupi Godinez. Because as much as I like Lupi Godinez and as much as we have rooted for her, we have also seen her trip over her lady lips almost as many times as she has gotten her hand raised at this point in the game. She is always ready to go. She is always entertaining, but she is not always in the the winning ways of the fight when it comes time to actually climb in the fucking cage. There's just no way to tell because we have seen her both lose on a full camp and win on a short notice camp and then turn around and do the exact fucking opposite in the follow-up fights. So there is no rhyme or reason to who or which version of Lupi Godinez shows up. We just kind of have to watch and hope with fingers fucking crossed that it's the good one, because if it is, Yonderova is going to get her crooked eye beaten fucking straight Saturday night. If not, though, this has the potential to be 15 minutes of agonizing fucking television to have to sit through. And I like Lupi, but goddamn, can she bring the fucking energy in a room down to zero real fast if she doesn't show up, and there is the potential for it. So I'm giving Lupi my contender this week because much as I love her, we've seen her shit the bed a couple times as well. On the other side, though, Victoria Dudakova. I still think there is potential there. We saw it initially, and then I think she got a little too complacent last time when we saw how that can build a little lackluster. I think she might come back this time with a little bit more to offer. Gato's never really put up much resistance. She's kind of just always been a body on the ladies' side of the field. So there's potential here for Dudakova to do something good and get back in the good graces, get another potential highlight reel finish going in here again. But the one singular person on this entire card I have any genuine faith is going to put on a good performance Saturday night. That is one name, and that is Connor Matthews. Not only is this gentleman a very, very capable up and coming potential fucking name, but this man is an absolute badass of a former United States Air Force operator. He is not a flyboy. He is a give me a gun and get the fuck out of my way, boots on the ground, ass kicker from the Air Force with the resume to back it the fuck up. And much like my esteemed compatriot over here, I always tip my fucking cap to the gentlemen and women who are brave enough to put their lives on the fucking line. And rarely, if ever, have we seen anyone make that transition from professional government grade ass kicker to UFC fighter and trip over their own dick doing so. Connor Matthews has put the fucking work in, and I think this man is coming in to make his friends, his family, his team, and his country very fucking proud Saturday night. So I am stoked to see what that young man can do.
Fuck yeah. Just like I mentioned with throwing Bazooka in the can onto in the UFC, they're throwing him a fucking good one so that he can have a good fucking debut. I'm definitely excited for that Matthews kid as well. Looked fantastic on the Contender Series. It's not all fucking bleak like Golf T always says. It's just like last week. We're right about some of these young kids sometimes. You got to keep an eye out for them. We're not saying they're going to be world beaters or champions yet. Fucking try to be optimistic and excited about something. God damn it, you get fights, so if you're going to watch them, fucking try to enjoy it, right?
Well, nobody said I
Otherwise,
wasn't
just
going to
fucking go to
enjoy
sleep.
them, but I'm not going to get excited about them. I refuse to get excited about these. Look, that's all there is to it. These are not things. Look, on a scale of my drill sergeant's fucking face is in the dirt to my drill sergeant standing at attention. This week, my drill sergeant standing in the fucking dirt, face down. Too much to drink. He ain't gonna stand at attention this week.
I don't know if Blanchfield gets Fiorot down on the ground, you get some of those certain camera angles, and you might pack up just a touch.
Nah,
Last weekend, Jesus Christ.
there was some solid angles last week, but not this week. Nah.
Good shit. Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. So this will bring us to the point where in most podcasts, you'd be seeing some stupid fucking B-roll come through from some company that has nothing to do with the fucking show and a product that no one on the show actually fucking uses. And we don't fucking play that way around here. On the I Know Joe podcast, if you like what we get up to around here and you want to help us do what we do for as little as $1 a month, you take your ass over to patreon.com/I'mNoJoe. You get your name and the end of every broadcast on this channel as a thank you to let everybody know how much of a badass you are, as well as unrestricted access to behind the scenes, unaired, and literally unairable content. Things that were, I shit you not, too hot for OnlyFans. They kicked us off, so we put it over on Patreon where the big kids can come and play. So if you want some fun, help us do what we do around here, patreon.com/I'mNoJoe. Give us a buck or more. It's fun time. That being said, this segment coming up here is the only segment on the show that does require its own individual disclaimer. So if you will, just a moment, please. Tapology.com does not in any way, shape, or form support, sponsor, or endorse the I'm No Joe podcast. Yet. That being said, Tapology does offer you the option to go onto their site, create a free account, and make fantasy-style MMA picks like we do here on the show. They also offer you the option to make a group on that site, so we did just that. It's called I'm No Bookie or Group 965, however you need to find it. It is open to the public. You are welcome and encouraged. Go over there, make yourself an account, join the group, let us know who the fuck you are, and we will hold you accountable like we do to ourselves in a little segment that we like to call Tapology with TJ.
All right, and we're back. Apologies for missing last week. Fucking unfortunately, Thursday didn't work out for us. Friday didn't work out for me. It just happened to be that kind of thing. But we're back at it. So, like I said, if you haven't fucking joined the group yet, please do come and join us. Group 965. I'm No Bookie over on Tapology. Let us know who you are so we can either pat you on the back or stomp on your balls when you've already ran over your own dick. Either way, you're more than welcome to here. I mean, we got plenty of people in this group that I have no idea who the fuck they are, but the ones I do know, we're going to call out when they do well. We're going to call out when they do bad. So we're going to jump right into
And I
last week.
just added a new one to the group yesterday too. Don't know who the fuck it is. Nobody's messaged us to let us know, but I saw the little request and popped in there, fucking accepted them in. So I think we're up to the 37 now.
Yeah, and only 21 picks last week, which is weird. But anyhow, for our group, let's just get this out of the way right now. One of the greatest flip-flops in history has fucking happened, finally. Donna has legitimately tripped over her own B-flaps. Fucking hit the goddamn pavement, and those fuckers are skinned up. She's going to blame it on her bad knee right now, guaranteed. No. She let her dangles dangle in the dirt, then stepped on them, hit the bottom rung there, and just kept on sliding. Now, with all that being said, that top spot fight last week was pretty god dang close. Had Meter and fucking old Don going back and forth last week.
Nope. Last week, it was me and Christian going back and forth. Don was only in the running because Tapology gave him points for the DQ bite finish. We decided as a commission that 50 points didn't count. So even with the final standings and Tapology giving him that cheaters never win points, he still couldn't fucking pull it off.
Oh, yeah. It was fucking close. The number, I go off the numbers. I don't go off the DQs and all of that. It's fucking straight off the numbers here. If they fucked up, you can appeal to the commission through Tapology because they do have their own appeal system there. So if you feel like you've been robbed, go ahead and fucking appeal. But Meter gets to fucking win this week. So we're back at her that way. And everybody else did fairly well. I mean, everybody was 400 points or more. The downside to that, myself and Donna were the only ones that were below 500. But to my credit, I was below 500, but only lost to Vinny by 5 points, who was just above 500 at 7 out of 13, when I was 6 out of 13. So yeah, he might have picked one better than me, but points are fucking funny on Tapology, so it can make a difference. Now, with all of that making a difference being stated, we have to jump into where we're at with the Grand Prix this week. Now, with that, knowing that Meter pulled off the victory this week, we're going to start with where he's sitting. He's sitting in a solid third place. He jumped me by 5 fucking points. Only 5. Donna, even though she tripped over the B-flaps, had such a commanding fucking lead that she is still in the lead in the Grand Prix. But that also gave Christian a chance to finally catch up, but he's still fucking 65 fucking points behind her. So that's a big gap to close in the last couple weeks here. See, that puts Meter a full 110 behind. That puts me 115 behind. Just behind me, you have Donna, and I say just behind me. Well, God, he's pretty far down there. He's 330 points behind the leader at this point. Oh, poor Vindog Booty Hog there is fucking even farther. He's almost fucking 1,000 behind. He 200 and fucking some change off of being. It's not good. Anyhow,
Vinny needs some horse meat.
Yeah, he needs to go get a hold of some of those alleged Mexican supplements there, you know, or some of that special Brazilian juice. But that's where we're at right now. Note to self, this Grand Prix runs until UFC 300. Once UFC 300 is over there, we will be starting a new season of the Grand Prix into the next quarter. So if you want to get in on that, again, come join Tapology with us, Group 965, or I'm No Bookie, your choice. Let us know who you are. We'll get you added in and make sure you get added into the wonderful Grand Prix that we're having. To be honest, I'm enjoying the Grand Prix more now that there's more people in them because, well, it's just fun to watch the leaderboards. Just, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed that I won the last 2 Grand Prix, but I don't think I'm going to win this one, unfortunately. Got to be real with myself. Eventually, holding the crown is kind of heavy. It's hard to get out of bed and train when you sleep in silk sheets. That's just how it is. Now, moving on from there, we're going to talk about this week and the odds across the board. So, again, I'm pulling odds from BetMGM, so your odds may vary depending on what you're looking at and where you're looking at. Pretty much across the board this week, we are coin flip city. So I'm only going to cover a couple of these, and that's going to be the main, co-main, and the one that's got fairly wide odds. And I say fairly wide odds because it's not really that wide. But we'll start with that one, and that is the Herbert Burns and Julio Arce fight. They've got the crappier of the Burns brothers sitting at a plus 300 underdog, as he should be, and Julio Arce as a minus 400 favorite. Those are the widest odds on the entirety of the fucking card. So, with that, your main event, sitting Aaron Blanchfield and Manon Fior. They've got Blanchfield coming in as a minus 200 favorite over plus 160 in Manon. So that's pretty close to a fucking coin flip. Yeah, there's a little edge there. Not something you're going to make a whole lot of money on. Your co-main event in Joaquin Buckley and Vicente Luque, or Vicente Luque and Joaquin Buckley, whichever way you want to fucking say it, doesn't matter, is legitimately a coin flip. Buckley is a minus 105. Vicente Luque as a minus 115. So it's a legitimate coin flip, 10-point spread there. The next biggest fucking gap on the card here is going to be the Bill Algeo and Kyle Nelson fight, which nobody gives a shit about. Bill Algeo minus 250 favorite, Kyle Nelson plus 200 underdog. Does the widest, that's about as close to wide odds as you're getting it on this card. Oh, I did forget one fucking fight. My apologies. That had a little bit wider odds. Longren and Pacheco. Got Pacheco coming in as a plus 280 underdog, and Lundgren as a minus 375 favorite. Other than that, everything across the board, fucking goddamn coin flips. Also, in passing, because fuck Andre Petrosky, he is sitting as a plus 200 underdog. So, Christian, you can take your fucking he's a can and stick it up your ass. That's all we got this week, boys.
Good shit. Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. Yeah, like we said, there's not really a whole lot to get excited about in Atlantic City. There are fights basically tomorrow night until Saturday evening runs through. So if you need some punchy kicky, there is plenty of it for you in store. Couple good on the UFC, couple good on all the other cards. So keep your eyes peeled if that is your thing. But that is pretty much all we have got for this particular episode. Remember, we are not doing review shows anymore. If you would like to see the action, the results of the action this weekend upcoming, keep your eyes on the I'm No Joe YouTube's live, or excuse me, not live, but the shorts tab, because they made its own individual fucking tab now. YouTube.com/I'm No Joe. I fucking hate that they did that. Click on the shorts tab and keep that refreshed as the fights go on this weekend. If there are good finishes, fight endings worth talking about, you will see our little recaps over there. Might even see a little video games on the channel this weekend if you keep your eyes peeled, maybe. But that is all we've got for this particular episode. So whether you are catching this live on youtube.com/@I'mNoJoe Thursday nights, or you're listening to this on the audio only version the week after it goes live through anchor.fm/I'mNoJoe, either way, we appreciate you. Please make sure you give us a thumbs up and your notifications are turned on, whatever platform you're picking this up on, so you don't miss an episode of the show. On the other side of that coin, though, if you don't like what we get up to around here, first and foremost, what the fuck are you still doing this deep into a podcast you didn't enjoy? Give us a thumbs down and then go fuck yourself. We won't even dispute it. That being said, we wrap things up here around Thursday night. That is not the end of the fun, because tomorrow morning and pretty much every Friday morning, that gentleman over there and his other half let loose their badass podcast, the Slow Bake and Contemplate podcast, over there on Spreaker.com. Links to that show, their social medias, as well as their very own channel over on the I'm No Joe Discord server, all down below. As always, go check it out and say what's up to those boys.
Appreciate you, bro. The badass shit never fucking stops. Once you get back to the best day of the fucking week, hump day, you gotta fucking show the brother Golf T Vape some love. Tune in every Wednesday night around 9:30, same time we do this fucking show. Foggy Fairway. You into vapes? You want to learn some new mixes and recipes? The brother show is the one to fucking tune into. Hop in, show him some love. All of his fucking links and everything should be down in the description as well.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Now, for those of you who weren't aware, in fact, you should be pretty aware at this point, going on how many years we've been doing this, but the meter does do more than one thing. In fact, meter does many things. If you go down below, you have a couple different options. Linktree / the meter does many things, or Linktree / I'm No Joe. Both of those will take you to every one of the multiple things that the meter does do. Go click away. Enjoy it. Also, like you said earlier, go check out those Stamp Vertex fights. Fucking fantastic. But, when you're done with those, meter does many things. Go check it out.
Much appreciated, sir. Thank you very much. That is about all we have got for this particular episode. So until next time, boys and girls, remember, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything, unless it's a hip drop tackle in fucking NFL anymore. Apparently, bastards gotta ruin everything, motherfuckers.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to us?